you want to join us up here, George, since this is your last go round? If they're going to give you that kind of applause, maybe you should just take the podium. So I want to thank all of you for joining me today for the signing of Senate Bill 191, which will establish downtown development districts, that program in the state of Delaware. It actually took quite a bit of effort, a lot of work, a lot of coordination to create this program from scratch, and the bill required more work and coordination than is often required. So I want to take a moment to thank some of the people who have made today possible. First, I thank all of the members of the General Assembly who passed the bill unanimously in both chambers. The prime sponsors in the Senate were Senator Henry, Senator Bushweller, and Senator Marshall. The prime sponsors in the House were Representatives Scott and Bolden and Keeley. I also want to thank Representative Brady. I know. I also want to thank Representative Wilson and Ramon and Brady for being here. I mentioned Representative Scott, Representative Henry, and I mentioned all of you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. I do want to note that this is an issue that Representative Keeley and Senator Henry have been involved in for decades, and so I particularly appreciate the leadership that you guys showed to get this thing done. I also want to thank representatives from the cities and towns in all three counties of the state. From Dover, which provided great support, Anne Marie Townsend and Councilman Dave Bonar, and others in the city of Dover, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Dave Hugg from the town of Smyrna, thank you. Councilwoman Shabazz from the city of Wilmington and others in Wilmington. Councilman Dan Henderson in the city of Seaford. George, what can we say about George?
That he's handsome.
I'll let you say that about George. I certainly would have to agree with that, but we will have to find an appropriate time for all of us, George, to express our gratitude for your many years of service. Thank you for helping me. I also want to thank Paul Calistro, Steve Martin from the Wilmington Housing Partnership, Carrie Gray, and Sylvia Banks. Thank you both who are here from Wilmington Renaissance Corp. Joe Meyer from NCAL, who's over here. Will from Downtown Visions, thank you, and many, many others as well. And then there are a lot of people from our agencies who worked hard. You know, anytime you have a new program that cuts across agencies, it's really a lot of work. Anas Benatti, who's director of the State Housing Authority, thank you, as well as Matt Heckles and Karen Horton. From the Office of State Planning, Connie, thank you very much, as well as Dave and Herb, thank you. From Dito, Alan Levin, and Diane Laird, Diane, thank you. And from the Department of State, Jeff Bullock and Tim Slavin. And I finally want to thank, and it's not in my notes because he wrote the notes, somebody from my staff put in an incredible amount of effort to make this happen. It absolutely would not have happened without him, and I'd ask you to join me in thanking any of those things. So back in January in my State of the State address, I said that I really believe that much of our success as a state is dependent upon whether or not our cities are safe and vibrant. And although Delaware cities and towns have been and will continue to be wonderful places, many of our state's downtown areas could use an infusion of energy, and not to mention an infusion of resources, as Bill that I'm about to sign will provide a little bit of both. So this bill, Senate Bill 191, enables the creation of these downtown development districts, a small number of areas in Delaware's downtowns and surrounding neighborhoods that will qualify for development incentives and other benefits. And this concept is actually quite simple. It's modeled after programs that have worked in other states, and I just want to remind everybody of what that is. So cities and towns will have to apply to have areas designated as a downtown development district. It will be a competitive process. Municipalities will have to put their own plans together, and they'll have to offer their own incentives, whether they be financial or whether they be things like speeding up permitting and the like. The state will evaluate applications and select a small number of districts. The selection will be based on need, based on the quality of the plan, and based on the incentives that are offered by the town or city. And the designation as a downtown development district will essentially entitle that city to a basket of benefits or incentives. Let me explain what they are. The first is around real estate. Builders who make improvements to real estate in these downtown development districts will be entitled to grants of up to 20% of the construction costs. This is modeled after a similar program in Virginia, which was very successful at bringing in a significant infusion of private money to follow the public money. This incentive is actually broader and more inclusive than Virginia's, which only applies to commercial development. Under our bill, incentives would be available to a wide array of investors. So for example, if a not-for-profit housing agency wanted to renovate an abandoned property, it could be eligible for a grant. If a for-profit entity wanted to, let's say, build a larger mixed-use project, it could be eligible for a grant. If somebody wants to put a restaurant into a ground floor retail space with apartments above, that could be eligible. And even homeowners could be eligible if they make an investment of at least $25,000 in their property. The amount above the first $25,000 could be eligible as well. In addition to that, we know that the historic preservation tax credit, something that's been really important. I know something that Representative Keeley and Senator Henry and Representative Bolden and others from the city of Wilmington used to great effect with respect to the redevelopment of the Queen as an example. So they have proven to be a very powerful tool, and so this bill allocates 30% of the state's existing historic preservation tax credits to projects that are located in these downtown development districts. And if they're not used, they'd be returned to the regular pool of applications so others can use them. In terms of other state benefits, this is a multifaceted effort, which is why it's taken the cooperation of so many agencies. And so, for example, DSHA, our state housing authority, will increase the amount of grant money available to buy and renovate abandoned homes in the downtown development districts from $35,000 to $50,000. DelDOT projects in the downtown development districts will be prioritized. It will be very helpful for them to have more money, by the way. That was not written into my talking points, but that would be very helpful. Yes. And other incentives as well. But the point is that we really are working across agency lines to do what we can to make sure that these districts succeed. At the end of the day, the program has the potential to provide a much-needed shot in the arm to revitalize our downtown areas and surrounding neighborhoods, and I really appreciate all that you have done to make it happen. So with that, what I'd like to do is the Senate bill is ask Senator Henry to say a few words, and Representative Keeley, and then I'd ask all the other legislators who want to say anything to please do so.
Well, first of all, thank all of you for your support. This would not have happened without the collective effort of all of us here in the room, from cities and towns across Delaware. Isn't it awesome when we come together collectively? Great things can happen. So I want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for all of your work and your advocacy and your letters and your phone calls, because it's very hard to get a bill passed unanimously, which means we all did our homework. So I want to express my personal thanks and thank the governor. And Andy and I almost started living together. but we learned, as we went around talking about the bill, we learned how to make it better, I think. And in the end, have a product that we can all be proud of. So I just want to say thank you, and thank my colleagues for helping to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
As the prime sponsor in the House, for me this was an easy bill because it's something that I had already believed in and had actually seen similar efforts with the Federal Home Loan Bank out of Pittsburgh and the Blueprint communities that have are up and down the state. So for me, that was like the first step in the right direction, the Blueprint communities, and I think this actually just builds on top of that. And it says that the state is invested in our towns and cities and municipalities up and down. Andy, absolutely, without a doubt, hands down, the fact that before the bill was ever even introduced, how many people he sat down with up and down the state, community leaders, not just people in government, but the people who were presidents of civic associations and others, sat there and spent the time. And Andy, honestly, I'm not sure if you're getting enough credit, and I hope everybody else mentions your name when they're up here too. Thank you.
Andy.
Yeah, very good.
Very good. I'd like to thank everyone
that participated, especially those that had the vision to look at the city of Wilmington and our downtown area. It is really growing, it's booming, and as being a native from Wilmington and remembering how downtown used to be with the stores and the family owners of those particular businesses, I'm looking forward for that happening again. And I'm really excited because we have another group that is working there. It's called Eastside Rising. And Eastside Rising has put together a great plan in terms of revitalizing the neighborhoods, which will connect with downtown. So I'm putting that plug in because I'm hoping we're going to be a big part of that, because the plan's already done. We have all of the entities that are involved in bringing that forward, and we're looking forward for that to go. So plug for Eastside Rising. I want to really give acknowledgement to Steve Martin with Wilmington Partnership, because he's doing a great job in pulling all these houses, identifying all the vacant properties there, because we do want home ownership and we want a place to be able to enjoy entertainment, to be able to go downtown. We have our mom and pop businesses that are going to be a part of this as well. So thank each and every one of you. Thank you, Governor. And I know they never let me speak because they don't always have a lot to say. But I'm really grateful and happy for this to occur. Thank you.
Lipstone.
There you go.
I'm looking around the room, I see Scott Koenig, Anne Marie Townsend, Dave Bonar, Diane Laird, Gary Patterson. I'm probably missing somebody, but all those people have a lot to do with the resurgence that downtown Dover is already experiencing. And those of you who are not from Dover, take a ride downtown one of these days. Look at that wonderful new library we have with with a lot of support from the state, by the way. The wonderful additions to Kent General Hospital, the newly remodeled, if you want to call it that, Wesley College. We got the Bayard Plaza apartments and shops. We got the Duncan Center. If you go out all the way out Route 8, we have what will be, in about 1 month, the most magnificent high school, public high school in the state of Delaware. So we're on a little bit of a roll here, and this bill is just going to push downtown Dover along a little more, and that's why it's very, very exciting. Thanks to everybody who had anything to do with it.
George, how about you? You want to say something?
I want to take this opportunity to thank the governor and the legislators. It's a shot in the arm for our municipalities. Being a former mayor, it's very difficult to convince your citizens you're going to spend money to upgrade your downtown when you just raise their taxes. But I think this is what we really need to get us started. And again, I want to thank you.
Thanks, George. I should, as a reminder, just point out that I included in my proposed budget $7 million for these downtown development districts in the bond bill. The budget's not, in the bond bill, not yet been voted on, so I think I'm guessing everybody here would like to see these things still in the budget. Speaking of plugs.
Is that lobbying?
If Stephanie can do her lobbying, I can do mine. So, Senate Bill 191.